Oh, hi there, everybody. Hang on a second. I wanted to say hi to the Pickles-n-Hairspray group. A little bit of pickles and hairspray. So my name is Joe, and I made a video yesterday, and it was quite well received. So, man, that's an extra garlicky pickle. Extra garlic. I'm not used to eating. I don't eat pickles the way the Duggars do. Okay. I wanted to make another video. The one I did yesterday for the Pickles and Hairspray group was really well received. So thank you guys so much for your amazing comments and feedback. It was fabulous. Somebody in the group, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, had suggested discussing toxic masculinity, which is also one of my favorite subjects. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have eaten that pickle on the heels. It's a bad idea. Try not to be dramatic, Joe, when you're making videos. Okay. I work, I'm a computer technician by day, and I work with all men, almost all men. There's one female-bodied person in my department who does what we do, like as one of the field technicians. And out of all of them, one of them is particularly woke, as I like to say, and he and I discussed toxic masculinity not that long ago. It was the day that I shaved my head. And somebody said to me, I think in the department, they said, holy crap, Joe, why'd you shave your head? And I said, well, you know, a change of scenery. I'm not opposed to saying, one of my favorite things to say is I was really looking to butch it up. I've been butching up my wardrobe and butching up my glasses and trying to butch up my look for many years now, little baby step at a time. And so, we were just chit-chatting. Well, Scott came around later, and we ended up talking about the deeper reasons why I shaved my head, pertaining to gender and gender expression. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look at yesterday's video. We discussed gender expression, gender identity, gender presentation. Anyway, so he is he's a nice young man, a millennial, soft-spoken young man, and he said something along the lines of toxic masculinity. I'm like, oh my God, you know what that means? He goes, of course I know what that means. Because sometimes I think a lot of people just don't know what that means. They hear the word feminism and they think it's an affront to masculinity. They think that masculinity is not a bad word. It just means being manlike, when nothing could be further from the truth. Toxic masculinity is kind of how these Duggars and clan live. It is to imply that there is one way to be a man, and that one way is the only way, the correct way. Every other way must be corrected to the one way. The incorrect ways would be to act effeminate, show emotion, cry, talk gently, softly, prefer to reason things out rather than fight them out. You can see the Duggars they're kind of lovers, not fighters. You can see that maybe they're not the types of people who want to get in fist fights, but they kind of have this fighting warrior spirit, like they're soldiers of God. It's kind of a fighting mentality that you fight for your family, or you fight for the rights of the oppressed Christian minorities, or whatever it is they're fighting for in Congress. It's a fighting mentality. And part of toxic masculinity also has to do with the way you look. You are only allowed to look a certain way. You're not allowed to wear makeup. You're not allowed to shave your body hair. You're not allowed to cross your legs. And if you do those things, there is a very high price to pay. So I didn't tell this story on the video I made yesterday, but I have told it in previous videos on my channel if you've been stalking my channel this last couple of days. When I was 14, I was a late bloomer. I went through puberty when I was 14. I was in grade 9, and I remember a teacher asked a question, and I rose my hand, and my hairy armpit, the shirt gapped, and my hairy armpit showed. And later that day in the lunchroom, in the cafeteria at lunch, some boys called me out and screamed across the cafeteria something about, I can't even remember the details. I think it had to do with filthy dirty. I love how when female-bodied people have hairy pits, they're filthy dirty, but male-bodied people have hairy pits and they're not filthy dirty, but whatever. It was around that time that I kind of got shamed into shaving, and I shaved throughout my teen years. Kind of towed the party line as a teenager, as a lot of teens do. A lot of teens, at least in my generation, 80s, 90s, you know, we did what we had to do to get through the day. I'm pleased to report that I do work in the school board system, and it is a lot different now. Kids can really express themselves now in ways that we really couldn't in years gone by. So I'm pleased to report, at least in the public system, at least in this city in Canada where I live, it's so much better than it was for us when we were kids. But when I tell that story about me as a kid, being shamed for not shaving my pits. I'm really talking about, what's expected of women or girls or female-bodied individuals. But I don't live in a male skin, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be a teenage boy at that time and to want to express my gender identity in ways that were not acceptable. There was a lot of roughhousing, beating up, words like fag, pansy, pussy, that boys get called if they don't toe this party line and participate in toxic masculinity. And I think, let me just muse on this a while, because I didn't think about this video before I made it, because, I just walked in the door from work. I think as you get older and people, I'm 45 years old, and I work with, people in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. And I think some of the older generations, like the 40s and 50s, still have notions that, men, I have a lot of friends in their 50s who are dating now. And there's this notion amongst 50-year-old men where men have to pay for the date, or women still expect, there's still these gender expectations amongst a certain generation. And it boggles my mind. Sometimes I think as far as we've come, it's just not come far enough. As pertains to fundamentalism, let me think about this. Oh, yes. Oh, I could talk about this for days. This headship business, how the man is the authority in the house. In fundamentalist circles, the man is the authority, and he transfers authority of his daughters to their husbands when they get married. This is very prevalent in, I think, Joy. You could probably see it best in Joy. Joy seems to be the Duggar daughter who is most brainwashed into this method of thinking. Like, didn't have an opinion for herself at all. Only wanted to do her hair the way Austin wanted her to do her hair. Didn't care what the dress looked like, as long as Austin liked the dress. Really had been brainwashed to not have opinions and not have really an automaton to please the man in her life. As that pertains to me in my life, well, I'm going to do another video because some other people had requested that I talk about my deconversion. I did make a 4-part series. It's on this channel, my deconversion from Catholicism. But those videos are 8 years old, so I will do a rebrand of that later. I was very lucky in that I was raised by a tomboy mother and kind of an effeminate father. But my parents are really non-traditional people. They buck trends, and they really did let us be ourselves. Fundamentally, they did let us be ourselves. But my father is a victim of toxic masculinity, because I remember my father claiming that his homophobia was steeped in the fact that a gay guy came onto him once. And I remember saying, yeah, like a gay woman came onto me once. Like, I'm not homophobic. I don't understand where you're getting that from. But my father had just reasons to believe that, growing up in the 50s, he had to be a man, you had to behave a certain way or look a certain way and think certain things. And sometimes I think that's carried through, even though my father's not an abusive, patriarchal, typical guy in any way. Like, he's not like that at all. I'll talk about that in a later video, though. I'm going to try to keep these videos under 10 minutes. This is 8:22, including the pickle eating, where I'm still feeling it. Acid reflux, man. But that was just my little take on toxic masculinity. I will do another video in the near future about my deconversion. Any other subjects you guys have that you want to talk about. Joy had that baby today, actually a couple days ago, on my sister's birthday, February 23rd. Incidentally, my parents were married on May 16th, 1970, and they had my sister on February 23rd, 71. 9 months to the day, pretty much later, just like Joy. So this is why when you guys are squabbling about was she knocked up before the wedding, no, it was a honeymoon baby. You can do the math. Anyway, on that note, I will cut this short, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.